And welcome back to Legal Matters. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and with me now is Mark Brynteson. He's the managing attorney with the American law firm. This is a half-hour informational news call-in show devoted to a variety of legal topics of interest to you. We have attorneys standing by right now to take your call at the number on your screen. They'll be able to provide you with free information regarding your issue, so call now and do so throughout the next hour. Our opening statement tonight, what to look for in a personal injury attorney. Then in our second segment with the American law firm, we'll talk about some of the surprises that might spring up following a divorce. Now, let me remind you first of the multiple practice areas that the American law firm concentrates in. The American law firm is a general practice law firm that concentrates in divorce and family law cases, bankruptcy matters, personal injury claims, along with criminal, traffic, and DUI issues. Also, wills, trust and probate matters, real estate and business transactions, and immigration and naturalization services. So feel free to call to discuss any of these areas with attorneys who are standing by. So Mark, today we'll be talking about personal injury cases and the importance of that. Talk about a little bit about how the American law firm personal injury department works.
Well, when a person comes in and wants to retain us or wants to talk about a personal injury case, not every personal injury case is one that an attorney should accept, and they need to do an analysis of whether or not the case is something that the attorney will be able to help that individual out with. For instance, I have, and our firm has parameters that if you're not over those hurdles, then we feel that it's not appropriate for us to take your case. However, we will help you understand the claims process. We'll help you understand how to value your claim. We'll walk you through that. But if you're not over a certain threshold, our ability to help you is limited. And I think too many attorneys many times take cases that they shouldn't be, that are too small, that you actually end up hurting the client rather than helping the client overall.
Okay. So what makes a good personal injury attorney? What do you need to be a good personal injury attorney?
Well, first and foremost, a personal injury attorney needs to be somebody that knows personal injury law, but also goes into court and try the cases. There's a lot of attorneys out there that probably have never seen the inside of a courtroom. I'm one of the there's an ADR center, alternative dispute resolution, that the court has for certain cases under a certain amount of money. And I'm actually one of the arbiters. I sit and hear these cases and determine them. And you can tell the attorneys who do personal injury cases and the ones that don't are trying it on, maybe this may be their first or second one, or they may be a real estate attorney that are trying to do some personal injury. And when they come in there, the presentation, you can tell. You can tell. So basically, you want an attorney that knows personal injury but also has been in the courtroom, and there are certain things you want to look for when interviewing an attorney. I would say you may not want to hire him the first time you go into their office unless you're sure and they or he or she can convince you that they really know what they're doing, and there are criteria you need to look for.
So it's a matter of like getting a second opinion. You go to see a doctor, you can get a second opinion with another doctor. You go to one attorney,
sure.
Talk to them a little bit, find out what it's about, and if you're not comfortable or if you have other questions, possibly go see another.
That's absolutely true. And so some of the things you should ask them: how many personal injury cases have you handled? Now that's generic. That could mean tried and settled. Ask them how many they've tried. How many have they tried in the last 6 months, the last year? Ask them to give you references from other clients that you've represented. I know in Virginia, I practiced in Virginia for many years and did medical malpractice for many years, and I had a firm there that actually represented the physicians in medical malpractice cases, would refer me malpractice cases because they knew I would do a good job. So you need to probe a little bit and find out, is that attorney really a personal injury attorney, or are they trying to take a case to get a fee?
And as far as solicitation goes, if an attorney comes to you, you have to really watch. I would think if an attorney comes to you, you really have to watch it.
Well,
on that status alone.
Perfect example. My mom was in an accident probably about 4 years ago now. And within a week of her being in the accident, she received a mailing from an attorney, and you can do it. It's perfectly legitimate. I'm not saying it's not. Received a mailing from an attorney: hey, we hear you're in an accident, we're sorry, you need to know your rights, give us a call. Well, That's legal because it's a generic solicitation, not a general. Or it's a generic, not a specific solicitation. But they're hoping you'll call.
Sure.
Bottom line is, there are some attorneys out there, law firms that do that are top-notch. Don't get me wrong, they are top-notch. But there are others that just want to increase how many personal injury cases. Because if you have 1,000 personal injury cases and you never try one, but you settle all 1,000, the attorney's going to make out pretty good. But the person you're representing probably won't when you look at each individual case. And you want to make sure that your attorney, personal injury attorney, is going to look at you as an individual and your case as an individual and not with the group of cases they're handling. And that's what I've always tried to do, is look at each case individually, because each person is different. Their needs are different. Their ability to go through the process is different. And the attorney needs to come alongside and help them go through that process. So when you're interviewing an attorney to, retain them or hire them to be your attorney, you need to just be sensitive to that, and don't be afraid to ask them the questions. Remember, the attorney is the employee. The client is the employer. You employ the attorney for their expertise, which they have carte blanche over, but you still are the employer as the client.
Yeah, it's difficult for some people to realize, that's for sure.
Difficult for a lot of attorneys to realize.
And the number, of course, to call 394-1776. Be sure and call and get your question answered. We have more to discuss coming up. You're watching Legal Matters with the American Law Firm. And welcome back. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and with me is attorney Mark Brynteson with the American Law Firm. You're watching Legal Matters, an informational news call-in show devoted to a variety of legal topics. Attorneys are standing by now to take your call at the number on your screen. That's 815-394-1776. They're available to provide you with free information regarding any issue you have right now. We'll have lawyers standing by for about another half hour after the show ends. Now, previously we were talking about personal injury cases. Want to get one in real quick before we move on. Do victims ever handle personal injury cases themselves, or is that a good idea? Oh,
they can, and sometimes they should, but they should still come, and we give a free consult, and any personal injury attorney worth their salt will give a free consult to learn what the claims process is and how to value the claim. The insurance adjuster they're just as knowledgeable as the attorney, the personal injury attorney. So they're already going to know a whole lot more than the injured person will. So come in and get a free consult, find out exactly what your rights are, what the trap doors are, and that way you can deal with the adjuster on a level playing field. If you don't, they're going to take advantage of you. For instance, they'll tell you our policies and procedures say that we don't have to do X. My response to that, whenever I get that as an attorney, is say, well, my policy and procedure is the law of the state of Illinois, and that may be not in agreement with your policies and procedures. Your policies and procedures aren't given to the jury as jury instructions. State law is, and they'll try to snow you unless you know.
Okay, and always a good idea, the free consultation.
Yeah, free consult.
So it's easy to go and just get the information.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, that's good information. Now we're going to move on. We talked about divorce a little bit in the break and talked about things that happen after a divorce. And many people think the papers are signed, it's a done deal, but that's not necessarily true. So what happens after that is done?
Well, actually,
what can happen, I guess. Yeah.
Well, when a final divorce decree is entered and the divorce is finalized, that doesn't mean things are over. If there are children involved, that dad and mom, used to be husband and wife, are still going to see each other a lot when they're transferring their children back and forth regarding visitation. Other things too that happen, say dad is ordered to pay child support, but he loses his job. Like the economy has been really bad around the whole country the last 6-7 years. They lose their job. Well, you may have been ordered to pay support at this level when you had a good paying job, then you lost it. Well, you need to get back into court and have that amended based on what your change in circumstances are. One of the other areas we see quite a bit too is, especially with people that handle their own divorce and are not represented. What will end up happening is in the final divorce decree, they won't have some provision put in there that terminates support, child support, when the child turns 18 or graduates from high school. And it keeps on running. We've had people come in where it's kept on running until the child's 26, and the other spouse is glad to take the money because they're going to use it to go on vacation or do whatever. It's not going to go to the benefit of the child, so to speak. So a lot of times you need to go back into court and get an order terminating that right, even if it's in the final divorce decree. But a lot of times if they're handling it on their own, they won't get the correct language in there, and it's not up to the judge to make sure the correct language is in there in that regard. So we get a lot of those. In fact, you probably get a lot more post-divorce than maybe divorce work.
Well, getting close to the end here, but do you want to get in, are these post-decree modifications, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's something to consider that, and as it goes along.
Yeah, just when the final divorce decree is entered, it doesn't mean it can't be modified or changed after the fact based on changed circumstances. So it's always worth coming in and talking with the attorney to find out, do I qualify? Can I get a change, etc. So it's just a good practice.
Okay. So as you get into the beginning of the process, once you find that a divorce is inevitable, how do you go about making the whole thing as smooth as possible?
Well, divorce is never going to be smooth, and especially if there are children. Hopefully it can be as amicable as possible, because that'll be as least expensive for the parties, because you're not fighting over everything. You're not going to court every other week. So the key is to really be able to work things out, work the visitation schedules, the support out. It doesn't always happen. It's a highly charged environment, but that's the best of all worlds if it could be amicable.
And it's certainly unique case to case.
It's a unique case to case.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Well, thanks for your time and for your information tonight on this topic. Again, lawyers from the American Law Firm standing by right now to take your call. No matter the topic, the advice is absolutely free. It's 815-394-1776. Lawyers will be taking your calls for about another half hour after the airing of the program. We'll be back with a closing statement when Legal Matters returns.